Another episode of Pathways to Our Past, or PP for short. Isn't that right, Travis? Oh, wait, Travis isn't actually with us here today, but I'm sure he'll watch this later. Today we are visiting the gravesite of Maria Isabella Boyd, better known as Belle Boyd, in Wisconsin Dells, Wisconsin, at the Spring Grove Cemetery. Belle Boyd was a Confederate spy during the American Civil War, living in Virginia. She was a woman who famously, at 18 years old, after overhearing some information about troop sizes and movements, ran across an active battlefield and active firing lines to relay information directly to General Stonewall Jackson at the battlefield of Fort Royal, Virginia. She had several nicknames, the most famous of which was probably the Cleopatra of the Secession, but she was also known as the Siren of the Shenandoah or the Confederate Mata Hari. She overheard this information that she relayed to Stonewall Jackson while her house was being guarded by Union sentries and officers after she shot a Union soldier to death because he swore or cursed at her mother. She did not get charged with murder for that somehow. She earned the Southern Cross of Honor for her spy activities during the American Civil War, and she got a direct letter of thank you from Stonewall Jackson. During that time, she was arrested 6 times, but didn't really face much incarceration, and she was also investigated by the Pinkertons and the Pinkerton Agency. She actually had 3 of them on the case for her. And after the war, she bounced around Canada, England, across the United States. She was an actress for a while, and then she became like a public speaker on circuit, talking about her days as a Confederate spy. And she ultimately wrote like a memoir or an account of her wartime activities. And at one point, she even married a Union Navy officer. And then on June 11th, 1900, she died in Kilbourne, Wisconsin, which is now known as Wisconsin Dells, of a heart attack. And she was 59 when she died, and she was interred here at this spot. And she had Union soldiers as her pallbearers, and her gravesite, or her gravestone, I'm sorry, simply reads, Belle Boyd, Confederate spy, born in Virginia, died in Wisconsin, erected by a comrade. And so there's this fenced-in sort of memorial gravesite here, and they've added what appears to be a placard that says Confederate War Veteran, and it has a flag. And then they have this descriptive plaque that talks about the information she relayed to Stonewall Jackson in that story that I just told all of you. And then at the bottom, it has a quote from her: "One God, one flag, one people, forever, Belle Boyd." And it's got steps to walk up there, and it's gated, but the gate is not locked. So you could actually walk up here if you want and look directly at the gravestone. It appears people leave pennies here. I don't know the significance of that, unless we're going back way, way back to ancient mythology and crossing the river Styx, maybe. I don't know. And then it appears they have these spots. I don't know if these are for adding other flags or flags that used to be here. This is my first time visiting this site. And we're kind of up on the bottom part of a hill here. We can look down across other parts of this graveyard. And now I've walked up to a different part of the cemetery, and it is time for everyone's favorite segment, the premium beer review. So at the top of this hill that Belle Boyd's grave was kind of near the bottom edge of, I found this Civil War memorial. This is a Union soldier statue. So we're sitting up on top of this hill, and it's a nice little spot. I figured it'd be a good spot for the premium beer review. Today we are drinking Lone Star. The Lone Star is the national beer of Texas. So we like the slogans on our premium beer review, and this one stood out to me because the national beer of Texas is an amusing statement. I've never actually had Lone Star, so we're gonna give this a try for the first time. Bottoms up. Wow, that's actually really, really good. It reminds me a lot of Grain Belt, which is one of my favorite beers. A Minnesota beer. It has almost the exact same flavor. It's got that little background hint of spiciness, which I like, and it's pretty light. It's a very fitting beer for a nice autumn day like today. And it's interesting too because the Lone Star, if you get the bottle ones, have these caps with these word and picture puzzles on them. So this one is Yankee Stadium. Yankee Stadium. Lone Star has become, I guess, kind of famous again over the last decade-ish because Rust Cole famously drinks it in season 1 of the TV show True Detective. And now it's time for our 6-pack review of the beer and the site. So Lone Star itself, I think I'm going to give it the full 6. This is pretty damn good beer. I mean, this is tastes exactly like one of my favorite go-to beers. So I can see myself drinking a lot of this. I bought this 6-pack for like $7 plus tax, I think. So premium, delicious, and affordable. As for the site we visited today, it's a really beautiful cemetery. I've never been here before, and it's a really fascinating cemetery. There's a lot of Civil War veteran graves here. There's graves from people that basically pioneered out to these parts of Wisconsin in the late 1800s. And there's some gravestones here that are so weathered by time, you can't even see the letters on them anymore. And then down over here near the bottom of the hill, there's a stretch of Native American graves, which I think are mostly people from the Ho-Chunk Nation. So if you like to learn about or understand history via a place like a cemetery with gravestones, which I do sometimes, this is a really fascinating one to come to. And there's some very unique gravestones around here too, if you like the architecture or the idea behind the stonemasonry, the art behind the stonemasonry. So I think I'm going to give this place a 4 out of 6 on the premium beer review. I mean, there's not much else to do besides looking at this stuff, which I could spend a lot of time doing. But also, Belle Boyd herself, while it's an interesting bit of history, I don't think she's someone that should be glorified because she was a traitor to this nation and a slave owner. But it is a very interesting, unique bit of Confederate and Civil War history and American history, and somehow she ended up being buried here of all places. So that's it for this episode of Pathways to the Past. Thank you for watching and listening, and we will catch you next time.